Hey, everybody! Welcome to the Eh-soteric Archives. Back for another episode here in the old basement. I'm Andrew,
I'm Mike.
and yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in. We got a nice little juicy topic to go over today. Um, yeah, something that is been popularized in pop culture and movies and TV. Lots of I'm sure everyone is familiar with the topic by this point. So yeah, we're going to talk about remote viewers in Canada,
hmm
um,
and everywhere else,
and
but
everywhere. Everything is kind of
yeah,
you know,
Canadian spin, but yeah,
yeah. You gotta have a hook, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we'll kind of touch on what remote viewing is, how it kind of started, what it's sort of been used for in both civilian and military applications. And
The public, what they've acknowledged publicly,
yeah,
and also possibly what we may think it's
yeah,
also been used for. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
a pretty deep topic and kind of bleeds into other areas of parapsychology and all that fun stuff. So yeah, so MK Ultra, not MK Ultra, remote viewing. Sorry,
although
I'm off base already.
yeah,
Remote viewing, so it is the process of essentially uh astral traveling in a sense to a specific location or target. It's been used by the military, obviously for espionage purposes. It can be used, just for funsies too. I think.
yeah. As we'll get into, that some people just do it. Yeah, literally, it's astral My understanding is it's very similar to astral traveling, except it's more focused
Yeah.
when
So
used by the military.
yeah, I think it's just more of like a refined process and kind of like an acquired skill. It's not, when I think when people think astral traveling and all that, they sometimes, you think like lucid dreaming, which can be an accident. You
hmm
just kind of people stumble upon it or have those premonitions. I know my wife all the time is I had a vision in my dream about this, and then this happened. It happens all the time to
hmm
people.
I have a very good friend who I will not mention, but she astral travels and does not like it. Like she does it
Oh, against her will,
unintentionally.
kind of thing.
It I don't, yeah, I wouldn't, yeah, I guess it is against her will, but
Yeah.
it's happening. And the way that she describes it is she floats out of her body, and it doesn't happen all the time.
Hmm.
And then we were talking about it. She brought up, oh, this used to happen to me all the time when I was a kid. And
Hmm.
it scared the bejesus out of me. And
Yeah.
yeah.
There's actually a little side tangent. There's actually quite a few stories that people have of floating, like out of body experience when they were kids, like traveling down the hallway. I not to sound too nutty, but like I have vivid memories of laying in bed and like floating up from my bed and going to see what my dad was watching in the living room and stuff like
That,
and I mean, is that a dream? Is that the space in between? Is that what
yeah.
what is it?
I didn't have dreams like that, but I would have dreams when I was a kid where thought I thought I was flying in my dreams, but now that I'm understanding more about it, I realize it could have been something different. And it was flying like from this place that like
Yeah.
to the cottage to, you know what I mean? To Jimmy's house
Yeah.
and coming in from an angle that I wouldn't know, especially then there was no Google Earth because I'm old as dirt,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I now realize what it may have been. It also could have been dreaming too. I get that, but there's a connection, right?
There's definitely a connection. I thought, yeah, and what remote viewing is essentially, buttoning up that technique and being able to turn like flick that switch and turn it on and be able to do it with an intention.
Mhm.
So a lot of the time, to get back into, what away from our floating stories,
Yeah.
what it is a lot of the time is here's your target, whether it be a physical object, um which a lot of the time is used for training purposes. I mean, I would imagine that using remote viewing to target an individual is a lot more difficult than a place or a specific object in a room or something.
Yeah, I would assume it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'd be given sometimes they'd be given coordinates and they would have to
Yeah.
see what was there from, remote view, what was at those coordinates with no,
And I
and
think,
this was before Google Earth.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of the time what happens too is they're not given too much. The remote viewer, whoever's being tasked with this target, they're not given too much information, because I think the whole process, and we'll get into this when we get into the actual the gateway tapes and the projects that stemmed from this, but they they're not given too much information so that the brain can kind of disconnect. Does that make sense? Like you can't have a too detailed of an image of what you're trying to hit.
My understanding too is it's hard or impossible to, like, they draw what they see. They can't read. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in remote viewing, I don't believe reading is
so there's different,
it's very rare.
Yeah, there's different remote viewing groups. Like there's different ones on YouTube that I've checked out before, and they're just, civilian collectives of people that are all remote viewers, and then they'll all have the same target. There's almost like a director, someone that's leading
a handler.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're all given the target and not told, they don't get to communicate with each other. And I guess the idea is to see how close they are, and so they'll do. I've seen it, with like political speeches and stuff like that. I saw when the Trump assassination attempt, the magic bullet, when that happened. I did, like, a week before that happened, I did see a remote viewing session where like 3 out of the 5 dudes basically called it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Huh.
And it wasn't, obviously they don't know who's gonna be involved, but it's just like they saw the arena, or the whatever, the outdoor venue that it was at. They saw the placement of the crowd. They saw a political figure, a powerful political figure. They saw a gunman. So it's pretty interesting, the accuracy that they can achieve through this. And this is, like I said, this is just civilians that have gone through the gateway process, and kind of studied this stuff. So,
and they're essentially, so they're just calming their mind and then tapping into something where there is no time or space. And
so I think the most recent example of this in popular culture, I just rewatched 4 seasons of Stranger Things, and that's basically what that show is, right?
Yeah.
11 is a remote viewer, super soldier kind of thing.
MK Ultra.
And it's all, she has her abilities only really work in like a sensory deprivation tank. She has to, like, have the target. There's the one scene where they have different pictures in front of her of, like, I think it was all of her friends, so that she could find all of them at once. And it's just, I mean, I know it's a TV show, but it's such a popular topic now that and everyone knows that it was a real thing. These, like, parapsychology experiments and out of body experience, study it's commonplace now. So, I was doing some research just obviously to see whereabouts, where this was prevalent in Canada. And the most kind of telling one I could find was this Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron. So he's a psychiatrist at the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, conducted experiments from mid to late 50s to the early 60s. I pretty much wrapped up in 64, apparently. But so it was documented that he was trying to do what he called de-patterning and psychic driving. So when, like, when you study MK Ultra, they talk about different alters and fracturing,
breaking someone down to build them back up.
Yeah. Essentially, you create this, like, I've seen it, or I've heard it described as like a honeycomb pattern, and that's how they fracture out the mind into these little honeycombs.
Mm-hmm.
And from each one, there's a path to another one. But it's about training the person to be able to like travel from path to path. And so, like, part of this is, you know, with the sensory deprivation tanks and the white noise and binaural beats, which I know like you did a bunch of research on, what that essentially does is it like creates that liminal space where you can sort of just, you know, you're in the in between, you're in the upside down, and you're able to travel between worlds. And I don't I obviously there's probably a nicer way to do it than what these government agencies have done, because there is, you know, there's so many stories. And if you look into this guy, like there were lawsuits after the fact from people that were psychologically damaged forever from this testing and trying to, and I think effectively what they were trying to do was create these super soldiers
and testing limits on human beings for sure, and to see what could be done with what they're doing to them.
And the way they actually, so some of the test subjects they drew in for this it was noted as creatives. There was a lot of like mentally ill people that were obviously taken from institutions and whatnot, and included in these trials. And so, I mean, you're using sort of you're using either a mind that is already thinks outside the box, like a creative person that's able to like access that flow state, or you're doing it on an already fractured person that, you know, all you have to, they've already broken their brain, you just have to put it back together. So it's pretty gross.
From like researching this topic, that definitely, we'll get into the binaural beats a little bit later, but there can definitely be positives from some of these things, right? Like,
yeah,
but whenever the government gets involved, it seems like that's not whenever, but do you know what I mean?
Well, because I think a lot of this stuff is actually rooted in very like spiritual practices. You know, they have like indigenous communities. I think it was like Cree and Métis in Canada. They do spirit walking and like soul flights, I think it was called when I was reading about it. And it's basically that. It's astral traveling, utilizing the spirit world to connect, whether it's with your ancestors or you know, they'd use it to predict like if they're gonna have a good growing season, things like that. Like they'll actually used it to connect to their surroundings and nature, and like the Buddhists had a process with it as well.
Yeah, I believe the first book about remote viewing was about the Buddhist.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I mean, you know, you get government and military involved that don't operate on us. I mean, I don't want to say they don't operate on a spiritual level, because they obviously have an understanding of the power of that.
But they take advantage of it.
They take advantage of it. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's dark magic. So
yeah.
So, but what's really interesting about this guy too, and this is sort of like the most conclusive report of remote viewing in Canada, is that this guy was later revealed to be part of CIA's broader MK Ultra program and Sub Project 68, which leads into Project Stargate and all that nonsense. So, not nonsense, but all that nasty stuff. So,
yeah,
I don't know if you want to jump into that stuff, or
sure. Well, so jump into Stargate.
Yeah,
sure. Well, that going back a little bit, around the same time that Cameron was in Montreal, he said it was late 50s, right, when he started?
Yeah, 57, I believe.
Around that time, Bob Monroe started. He was experimenting with using frequency, but it was to help people with insomnia. So like the beginning, so there's the Monroe Institute, which morphs into Project Stargate. Bob Monroe was the person who founded the Monroe Institute. And as I was saying, it started with him wanting to cure insomnia. 49 patients went to see him, and out of those 49, 45, I believe, were cured. And it was by using this binaural beat method. And it was putting two frequencies, one in each ear, the difference between them is what the brain reads. And so you can, for example, if you did like a 200 hertz frequency in your left ear, 204 in your right ear, your brain would run at would hear this 4 hertz beat and get in tune with it. And that 4 hertz level of brainwave activity is what leads to delta sleep and peaceful relaxation and all that. And they found that not only did it help these insomniacs get to sleep, but they could also train them to recall. Some of them could be trained to recall that brain wave with muscle memory. I don't know if I'm explaining myself.
Like a meditative state, like people that can just kind of snap into meditation.
And they know, like they can get that zone because they felt it. And not everyone, but some people could. And that is what Project Stargate kind of ended up taking advantage of later. So yeah, he did that and did it for a while, was helping people attain sleep. And then they found it was also good for relaxation. So was it delta, theta is 4 to 8 hertz, 8 to 12 hertz is alpha, 12 and above is beta, 13 and above is beta. Delta sleep was good for relaxation. Theta sleep, I can't remember what that was good for. Alpha sleep though was supposedly good for concentration and things like that. And then beta sleep is where it gets, or the beta brainwave, is where it gets to the point that's where they can play with things. Because once it gets above around 30 is when it can cause anxiety and stress.
Okay.
Right. And that is also something he noted. Upon completion of that project, he gets met by some folks that work for NASA and various other lettered agencies in the United States.
Yeah.
And they get him to work in conjunction with some other people at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI.
Yeah.
SRI, which also has another drug meeting, but anyway.
Yeah. Kind of an interesting connection, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go from there. Yeah. They bring in they brought in a bunch of civilian psychics. They brought in some military psychics. And they began with this they used other methods too, but I know this binaural beat method was used by them to figure out who was good and who was not. And it's the basis for them even today, like Russell Targ, who was part of Project Stargate, but had some stuff to do with Monroe Institute. Joseph McMoneagle, that's his name.
Okay.
Was part of Project Stargate. He was one of their first seers. He's also part of Monroe Institute, he was a teacher there. They all believe that anyone can do it with this binaural beat method.
Okay.
And it's literally by it creates a calm state of mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Which makes it easier to go on. So they fund Project Stargate. That was the early 70s. It began as a remote viewing, like a military experiment, I guess, to see if they could do anything with it. And supposedly it began because the Russians were doing this as well. That was the reason given for why they had interest in it. The Russians are doing it, so we have to do it too. So Project Stargate begins and kind of melds with Monroe Institute. There's a lot of intermarriage, we'll say, between the two institutions. There's people who went from Monroe Institute to Project Stargate and back and forth.
Yeah.
In the early 70s is when NASA starts to get an interest in it. Russell Targ, in an interview I heard a couple days ago, it's I think a year old or so, and he's mentioned it many times, said that all the best viewers they got for Project Stargate, the minute they would get someone and they would realize, oh, this person's talented at this, the military would come and snap them right up. Right. Pat Price being the biggest one. He was known in the 70s. He was and Russell Targ talks about that. He was the most talented by far out of all of them at the time. Snapped up by the military. His last couple months of remote viewing, he kind of did things on his own and talked about alien bases on Earth. 4 of them, I believe. One in, I'm not saying this is true, I'm just saying this is what he said. 1 in Alaska, 1 in Zimbabwe, 1 in Spain, and I can't remember, and all in mountains as well. And then he died shortly thereafter at the age of 56. And Russell Targ many times has went on record saying he believes he was murdered.
Hmm.
The official cause of death was a heart attack, but he wasn't playing. I don't know. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So who knows what happened? But it did. He was young for someone to pass.
So it's really interesting that you bring that up. That he was, because I wanted to kind of meld in how there's a lot of record of remote viewing being used to try and communicate. They're not just remote viewing on Earth; they're trying to communicate with these beings out there, right? And
yeah, 100%.
You look at like Whitley Strieber, like communion, right? Like that. There's ties that can be made, even the Bledsoes. When you hear their stories, and it really does kind of sound like an out of body experience versus them physically going to the craft or communing with these people in person. It definitely does feel like this astral projection kind of thing,
which is just as real. That was one of the things that Bob Monroe realized too in doing his studies was you go through the same emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're not physically there necessarily. We're not saying they're liars.
Yeah. Well, we've all had dreams where you swear you were there, right? Like I've had dreams where I'm like in water and I swear that I was soaking wet.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that it kind of that NASA got involved, which not, for whatever it's worth, because NASA is, in my opinion, an intelligence agency and not a space agency, but
might as well.
Yeah. So where I can loop this back into kind of a Canadian hook is, so I was looking up, obviously, what bases are there, any institutes outside of the Monroe Institute, which we'll get into because there was a location in Canada. But where would they be doing this kind of research? And the most compelling one, which there's no official record of, I'll preface with that. There's no official record that this was taking place, but the Air Force Base in Cold Lake, Alberta, has like a ton of weird UFO related kind of lore around it. And there's a lot of people that claim that they were testing anti-gravitic technology there. There's spacecrafts and it kind of got me thinking, where I was like, okay, maybe they need to get into the state of being to actually pilot these crafts. Like, what if they are off world and you have to, like, they are more of a, because you've heard the theories where these crafts are like organic, right? Like you have to kind of meld with them. You're
part of it. You're one with it, and that's how it does everything.
Yeah. It's not, you're not pressing levers and stuff like that. It's powered by the mind kind of thing. So it just got me thinking with that base, because of all the stories, UFO sightings in that area and whatnot. And then I did find one, again, not officially documented, but a story about someone who was working at the base and found a cabinet in an old locked room. I don't know what they were doing in there, but they pulled it out, and we're looking through it, and there were drawings, very like how you were saying that the remote viewers draw what they see. It was that, but it was like off-Earth beings, like craft that no one had seen before. And it's like, this wasn't just some general's son visiting, drawing UFO pictures. And this was in a locked cabinet. This was tucked away.
What they really were doing, you would think they would want to answer a lot of questions about that.
And a lot of these remote viewing bases in the U.S., like Fort, I think it was Fort Meade. Is that the one, or it might be?
There was one is that Virginia?
I believe so. I'd have to
it's
double
in
check.
Virginia, wherever it is where they were stationed.
A lot of where they do this stuff is very remote, which, like, Cold Lake is, it's there's not a lot going on there outside of military stuff, and it's on a quartz bedrock, which is really interesting because a lot of these other bases in the US are on some sort of, not necessarily quartz, but like a resonant mineral or stone like deposit.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously to supercharge that.
That's how they.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's another base, the northernmost base in Canada, which is in Nunavut. And there's been reports of strange craft at that one too. It just really got me thinking that obviously there's got to be these, like we've said before, these projects don't just die off. They continue in other forms. They rebrand, and people move around and shift around to kind of like, lay low.
And every 25 years, they allow something to be declassified and throw you a bone and say, hey, look, we told you. Not in Canada. It doesn't happen very often in Canada where things get declassified. And
no. Well, and it's really interesting also that like the guy in Montreal that was doing this, all of this was leading up to the Cold War era. And then once again, all these projects just end.
Once the Cold War is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah. Yeah.
Because it stands to reason for me that if they could do it to find, because that's how, when Project Stargate first started, it was to find military targets is what they said, right? So they would remote view that Pat Price fella remote viewed a submarine. I think it was like a double hulled submarine off the Pacific, and he was right.
Mm-hmm.
And they found, I think, a few murder victims, like Ed Dames is another one, who also found like a kidnap victim. They were brought in on the Patty Hearst case, which Russell Targ mentioned. So they do all these things, and that's what gets publicized.
Yeah.
But they do know about the other things as well.
Yeah.
And they use, in my belief, remote viewing to explore those other things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And when that veil's open, and
for sure. And going back to the Monroe Institute stuff, where these techniques kind of originated from, it's in you said that they kind of share people, so they bounce back and forth, and it's almost like a recruiting agency. Hey, like
the first director of Stargate became the director of the Monroe Institute when he left Project Stargate. I can't remember his name at the moment, unfortunately. And he was a general, like that was another thing I noticed. Almost all of the Stargate, they have civilians as well.
Yeah.
But most of the Stargate viewers, a lot of them were military. My belief is that they're able to, the word I can't say, compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize.
The word I always, they're able to do that because remote viewing, I think it must be fairly taxing on you if you're not aware of what, especially if it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if it's someone who can separate things, I think they found, and not question too, that's another thing, right? You get military, they might not question things the same way if it's for the good of the country.
Well, and they get that stress training too, right? They're able to control their nervous systems in certain situations, high stress situations, where obviously if you're remote viewing and you're traveling to, you're spying on a bunch of generals doing war plans, war games, like, that's a nerve-wracking situation to be in, especially, can they send their own guy and meet you in that space? How does that work? There's so many.
That's how we should settle all wars. I remember I've told you, every country
down, send them to the upside down.
Every country should have a champion. Send them to the upside down world. They battle it out, and we abide by the rule. Whatever happens.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, then you risk Vecna opening up portals and gates everywhere.
And someone gets a powerful jewel or something.
Yeah. But okay. Sorry. No, back to the Monroe Institute. One thing I did want to mention too is, because obviously it is advertised as this private group, right? They have investors, and you can look up each Monroe Institute and see who owns the land and this and that. But a lot of the time the land is either gifted or they're not, you know what I mean? And they're not, it's not like this is like a empty classroom in a strip mall somewhere. Like, these are beautiful properties, beautiful retreat properties. The one on Vancouver Island was in Nanoose Bay, which is like 30 minutes away from Nanaimo,
Yeah.
which,
Not even. I think it's less than. I
yeah,
think it's just north of
15, it's like
Nanaimo.
25, 26 kilometers,
Yeah.
something like that. But
It's beautiful.
and it is beautiful.
Faces the mountain. It's yeah.
Yeah, and I tried to look up, like, did they buy this land? Nope. Like they were essentially gifted it. They did end up having to leave. I think it was 2024. They officially closed down
Because
because
of
they
COVID. Yeah.
because they couldn't claimed they couldn't fund it anymore, and or their research was concluded, right? Like,
See, when you look into it, because there's numerous places they've been around Canada. First, I thought it was 2015 is when they first were here, but if you look, they were actually. I could be wrong, but from what I saw, it looked like they were in Honeymoon Bay on Lake Cowichan as well, which is in Duncan.
Yeah,
or just outside of Duncan. Sorry, and that's about an hour, if that, from Nanaimo. And before that, they were at a place in New Brunswick, also on the ocean and on rock. And all 3 times it's called the Bay Dash View. It's always called the Bay Dash View Retreat.
Yeah.
Which I found was interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know. I question. I mean, especially out here, I always question when there's seemingly non-profitable businesses and business models that occupy high value real estate. It just doesn't make sense. I know that they're, the retreats weren't cheap.
No.
And it does attract, obviously, a certain type of person. Like, the guy that works at Walmart and is living paycheck to paycheck isn't worried about going to the Monroe Institute and going through the gateway process so that he can remote view. He's just trying to, keep food on the table. So obviously this is an upper echelon, like affluent people go to this thing, or just people with too much money, or it's, you're recruited to go.
Or I would think that they would find, if you were very good at it, you would probably get a visit from someone else. I would.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but
yeah.
And I also think that it's because when you read the testimonies of a lot of people who've done it, it does seem to work.
Oh yeah.
For some people.
Yeah.
I haven't read, a lot of comments of people who it didn't work for, a couple, but
yeah. And to varying degrees, obviously, like it can work in the sense that, oh yeah, I visited my friend in his room and I noticed that he had a coffee cup and was wearing a red shirt, and I called him and he was drinking coffee wearing a red shirt. Something as simple as that. Or there is, as we head into, potentially World War III, I would imagine these techniques are being
World War III Atlas.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine, these techniques are being used again. Not that they ever stopped, but I would think that, with all the nuclear talk and all the, missing bombs and this and that, this is probably ramping up again.
To find things that they can't find with satellite, because I would assume that almost every inch of the earth is mapped and available for someone to look at, except for Antarctica.
Yeah. Yeah. Is anyone remote viewing Antarctica? Can we please?
Someone, I think that Pat Price guy did as well.
Oh, did he?
Maybe that's where the other alien base was. Anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of a crazy, and I think we're just kind of scratching the surface of it today, because there's obviously, like we said, this bleeds into MK Ultra, and that's just taking all of this to the next level. That's we don't want to get into necessarily like ritual abuse and stuff like that on this episode, because that's its own thing. But I find it strange that it's been popularized so much and become such a mainstream topic, because I feel like, obviously, with anything disclosure related, when that happens, it's to dilute the masses, it's to dilute the idea around it,
or to show them a shiny toy because they're doing something over here. That's
yeah. So,
and some straw men and
yeah,
they throw everything at you, right? Especially when the topic is important. When it's not important is when not much is done about it. But
yeah,
I just wanted to add about the Monroe Institute too, because it's not just remote viewing, and I believe it's steps. A lot of it is Bob Monroe figured out how to use frequency to make the mind more meldable.
Yeah.
It's my opinion, because you're leading into MK Ultra, that information was taken. Oh, we're going to use it for remote viewing, but also shuffled off to other agencies who use it for MK Ultra.
Yeah. 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 It's scary stuff, especially for something that could be, like we said, that has sort of its roots in spirituality. So I also wanted to touch on different sort of meditative processes, because I feel like there's probably people that would be quite good at remote view. I have some friends that are really good at meditating. Me, not so much.
Me neither.
I tend to like pace, and I'm not good at sitting super still. As people, if you're watching this, I'm just constantly twisting in my chair. But that with the rise in interest in meditation and people, studying this like self mastery more and more, it makes me wonder. It's like, is this part of a natural evolution in humanity that we're as a species going to be able, or was it something that we were able to do originally?
That's what I think. I think we've devolved. Right. I think this is opening up the third eye again.
Yeah.
At some point, whether it's because it was there, or we were closer to the source of where that came from, and we've just devolved over time. And also, think about all the other frequencies that we're bombarded with.
That's true, right?
Too,
yeah,
right.
Between Wi-Fi and
100%
different EMFs they're floating around us all the time.
And who knows what that does to each individual person's brain? Because I would think different people would handle it differently. But
yeah, I almost or on the flip side of that, are we bombarded with this stuff so that we don't, these frequencies, so that we don't connect to that? Because
that's what I think.
That's what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, maybe that's what I was trying to say.
Because like a lot of these, a lot of the studies that I read about are in isolated rooms, sometimes like network isolated. So like, I don't know. There's different. I know just from industrial stuff, there's like aluminum rooms that are essentially safe rooms that are built that there's no outside signals that can make it in.
A Faraday room.
Yeah, essentially. So I want, and with, that's where the cold lake and Nunavut and all these bases kind of come back in. It's they obviously have to be somewhere where they can kill the noise and allow these people to really, really tune in. And we live in a world that's just like, there's just noise everywhere. We're lucky enough to live in a beautiful open place where we're granted a lot of quiet and peace. And maybe that's why the Monroe Institute was on the island, right? I just gave away our location. We're on the island. Whoops.
Yeah. They don't know what island. Yeah. They know.
They'll figure it out.
All 10 of them.
Yeah. Know. Yeah.
They know because they know us. That's why they're listening.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So I do wonder if this is going to end up being sort of a natural evolutionary process where if we are lucky enough to kind of revert back to our old human ways, maybe we can all tap into this a little more. Synchronicity is becoming kind of a trending topic too, right? Everyone brings up syncs, like, oh yeah, I thought of this and then this happened, or I was thinking this and then this person said exactly what I was thinking. We even get into, tailored ads and stuff on social media. Is that a form of like, connecting through these theta waves and whatever? I know that it's obviously there's just data collection and it goes through what you looked at that week and whatever, but how many, everyone's got a story now of like, I was thinking of these shoes and I open my phone and there's an ad for those shoes or whatever the case, right? I was thinking of going to Italy, and then I open my Instagram, and all my whole feed is just like people traveling to Italy.
It was weird enough when you said, like, way back when you said stuff and then it appeared on your phone. It's happened to me, yeah, as well, where
Where you're just
thinking of something
yeah,
and it appears and I'm like, there's no way that like I haven't even looked for that yet. I haven't.
yeah.
It's weird.
So yeah, so is that a form of this where they're tapping into that, or are we becoming more psychic and are just projecting that?
Are we becoming more transhuman
Yeah,
and we're just all part of it?
yeah, hive mind shit. Ugh.
Yeah. Because I do believe too that the time we're heading into, some people think that all of these things will come back to us, these gifts that we used to have. Like, we didn't, there's a theory that one of the theories about how we've devolved stems from language, and that basically at one point we had no language
Yeah.
because we could communicate without language.
Mm-hmm.
We developed language that was fairly advanced, and it's from looking at language and just how language itself has devolved over time
From spoken to written
to what we have now. The
Yeah.
garbage that people send me when they're texting me. And
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, sorry, whatever. They know who I am. No one will be.
No,
offended.
I'm apologizing for
Oh,
texting you.
no,
brain
you're
rot.
good. You're good.
Okay.
But like everything's short form, and like I don't. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, no,
like,
definitely. Was it Plato or Socrates? One of those cats had said that like that was very against the written word, because they thought that it devolved ideas, and that it opened thought up to manipulation and corruption, which it very much did.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's easy. We've said before, it's so easy to edit a page, but you can't edit someone's thoughts. Well, we can't. Dr. Donald, you and whatever can apparently, but
Yeah.
But that's so yeah, it's almost like where do we have left to go in that, other than back the other way, right? No one, and we're getting to a point where like no one reads anymore. I mean, there's lots. I read, you read,
Yeah.
but the average person just doesn't have time to read a lot of the time, and or they read the headline, or but they're not diving into information in a long form.
Mm-hmm.
And people aren't having long form conversations. Everything's through text or just like quick phone calls. Podcasts are good for long form discussions,
Mm-hmm.
even though a lot of them are just babbling nonsense, but guilty.
Also guilty.
Yeah. But it makes you wonder where this is all heading, and if we're going to get to that point where we can communicate telepathically.
Some people can, for sure, 100%. Some people can.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. I 100% believe in that ability, and think that a lot of people are able to tune into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's such an open topic, and it's really interesting because of all the stuff it bleeds into. Like remote viewing is just one skill set of this like entire like human mastery kind of program that exists out there, where you can become psychic, where you can have premonitions, where you can remote view, where you can whatever. There's just it's I find it's scary that there's people out there just practicing this stuff, and then it makes you wonder too, when someone visits you in a dream or something, is that them intentionally doing that, or like your friend doesn't want to be there but just is, and it's, why does she have that ability? Like, if I were her, I would tune into that, and instead of like rejecting it, try and
Embrace
master
it.
Yeah, embrace
it and run with it.
Why are you there? Like, there's probably a reason.
Mm-hmm. I haven't had that, like I mentioned, when I was a child, maybe not, but one that I can remember, I haven't. So it's hard for me to say. I would think if it was something you weren't expecting, it would freak you out.
Yeah. definitely. I mean, I've had
So I get it, is what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had those dreams where I mean, after my dad passed away, I had a few dreams where I met him at a location, sat and had a full conversation with him, and like very real, very, very real. I know you've had similar
Yeah,
experiences.
the night my mom passed away,
Yeah.
and she was healthy and not old, like not young. She was in her 50s, well, mid 50s or mid to early 50s.
That's young, yeah.
Yeah. Saw her that day, went to my fiance's place. Everything was fine. Called her from my fiance's to see what time we were going to come over for dinner the next day or something like that. She mentioned she was sick. Okay, good night. Have a good night. Hang up the phone. Go to sleep. At 5 a.m, I was not at that time I did a lot of stuff, didn't dream a whole lot. So when I did remember it, and woke up from the craziest dream. And the dream was that I couldn't breathe, that my heart had stopped and I was gasping for air and I was looking up at my sister. I woke up my fiance. We talked about it for a sec, went back to bed. 5 minutes later, phone rings and it's my dad telling me that my mom had just passed from a heart attack. When I talked to my sister, she was the one who found my mom. It was
So wild, yeah.
But because there were so many other emotions going on at the time, like it happened, it was the whole day still now thinking about it didn't feel real. Like it felt, and it wasn't until a couple of years later that I just realized how crazy that was. But I've had weird dreams like that. I had one dream once, it was to go away for a vacation. And I had a dream the night before for no reason at all that my alternator wouldn't work. And I would end up seeing a bear and hang out with my brother-in-law at the time. And the next day we all drive up to go to this cottage. I beat everyone there. I knew about the dream, so I didn't shut my car off the whole time.
Yeah.
Pull over to this meeting place, park, turn my car on. And as soon as it happened, I remember putting my head down and right away I went to try it and it did the click, 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 click.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is crazy. The next person who comes by is my brother-in-law. He's like, oh, put all your stuff into my car. We'll drive, because I was with my girlfriend at the time. We'll drive you to where we're going, drop all your stuff off. He'll let her go to the cottage and I'll drive back with my car. On the way there, we saw a bear like run right across the road. It was like I literally had the dream the night before.
Yeah.
We've had so many discussions. I can't get into all my synchronicities.
No, for sure.
But there was a lot at that point, and then they stopped in the last year to year and a half. It's been crazy the amount that I've had. And where were we going? Synchronicity. It's all the same. It's not the same, but similar stuff, right? It's all intertwined. It's all.
Yeah, it's from the experiential point to the like intentional point of it, right? So it's I think it'd be really interesting if you were to go through the gateway tapes and process and see if you can do it. We both should.
I have been thinking about it from doing this research. I'm a little. It is something that scares me a little bit.
Yeah. It's one of those things that where it's like, yeah, I don't want to break something. And I'm also not 100% sure there's not already some broken shit going on up there. So I don't want to,
and I don't want to add to the broken shit that's going on out there either. Right.
Yeah,
in here or out there.
You don't run on a twisted ankle. You're going to flare it up. You know, that's a,
but it's definitely real. And those, like all the other trade, like they freak you out. But then you just brush it off, I guess, and go on with it. I would like to try it.
Yeah. I almost wish the Monroe Institute was still open, because I would there's like 6-day retreats. I'd maybe sign up for one of those and see what's going on. But again,
they were open. They could sponsor the podcast.
Yeah.
This one at least.
Yeah. Maybe we get recruited. This is my new career path. I've been looking for a new job anyways.
So that'll be episode 10.
Yeah.
That'll be us coming back after we've done it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a lot. It's really strange that there's not a ton of, like I said, in Canada, there's really not a ton of recorded instances of this training taking place here. But, Canada is part of the what is it, Five Eyes intelligence
Mhm.
coalition kind of thing. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and the US is pretty gung ho with this kind of stuff. So I would imagine it's probably baked into their requirements, that we have to be providing this training to some intelligence, whether it's CSIS or whatever it is here, right? Like, there's got to be a program that's maybe just, I don't know whether it's just under a different name or I mean, yeah,
I always before we started doing this podcast, I I knew that the Canadian military was involved in some stuff, but I always just assumed, it was the US always, whatever. And then we started like the first one we looked into Project Magnet.
yeah,
And then you see the amount of I had no idea how much stuff went on in Canada in the 50s and 60s and 70s involving the military
yeah,
and is still classified. Some of it's been unclassified, a lot of stuff redacted.
yeah.
They're not as open here. And people here aren't, I think now is changing, but people generally in Canada aren't as curious or pokey with trying to like find out what's going on.
Yeah, the things that get classified as woo woo here is to kind of blow my mind because it's not like a simple search would show you that this is real. Like, you say this stuff to people and they're, oh, well, that's crazy, or oh, that doesn't work, or like, but it's in every facet of everything. You look at not just remote viewing, but like psychics that work with the police. I mean, every oil company has a dowser on
Was
their payroll.
still, yeah,
Still,
yeah,
they have ground penetrating radar and stuff, and they're still like, well, bring the dowser out and make sure it's, before we spend the money on stuff,
yeah.
let's get this guy to go around and cross his rods. Like,
Just don't cross streams.
yeah, you can cross rods, not no. No, don't do that either. But anyways, you know what I'm saying though, is like this woo woo shit is everywhere, and it's utilized, the whole, even astrology is like, they say, well, like, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do.
Right.
There's a reason this stuff has been passed down for hundreds, thousands of years through cultures, and cross cultures. Like we said, there's like the indigenous people of Canada have a very similar process to reaching that state the as like the Buddhists did,
Mm-hmm.
as like Vedic religions and whatever. Like they, tantric states and stuff like that. It's all related. And
And most of it is involving brainwaves.
yeah, yeah. We've just obviously gotten to a point where we can put a scientific framework around it, but at the end of the day, it's just fancy words for what's been going on all along.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to chart it a little bit easier now.
I have read too that there's a Mind's Eye program. I think that like Project Stargate morphed into something else, and then that there's this Mind Eye, and the Mind's Eye program is for AI to think visually,
Okay.
and apparently they're using information from that they've gathered from Project Stargate and remote viewing and the way the brainwave works.
So this is similar ways to how they're like claiming to log dreams and stuff now, right?
Yeah,
Which gets you into like the concept of uploading consciousness, right? Separating the physical from the consciousness aspect, and then like, yeah, if this is just a vessel, then whatever's inside this vessel could technically be extracted and placed into another vessel.
it's like industrial alchemy, like what
Yeah.
they're doing, kind of, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Alchemy's, I know it's many things, but it's like getting things in your favor, I guess. Like,
Well, it's
and
it's the essentially like
and then
the
changing
melding of
something,
two
yeah,
things to create something new,
yeah,
right? So it's like you're taking,
outside of the physical laws, like
yeah,
altering that you're doing it, yeah, in a way where physical laws can be bent a little bit. So yeah, you can
yeah,
create something.
yeah, yeah. It's I don't know, man. It's really it's going to be neat to see where this stuff goes. And as as things develop with quantum computing, with like research in consciousness, like they've like near death experiences and things like that. They've basically admitted now that there's like a consciousness beyond this physical consciousness. So like effectively, like, yeah, they've proven the upside down already. So there has to be a way to get there. How would you know it's there unless you've sent someone there? Have you been there? You know?
Once an episode, we have to say
Yeah,
that.
at least once an episode.
But have you been there?
Yeah. So
that's why we have to do it.
Yeah.
Because then we can say we've been there.
Yeah.
And this is what we saw. And this is, or maybe not, because my feeling is I could be wrong, but I feel like it'll be a personal thing for me that I won't be able to share maybe for a little bit. Yeah. I could be wrong, but
it's depending how freaky it is. Yeah, it could definitely be one of those things where it's just like, oh, okay, I'm not doing that again. It's like
you're supposed to be quite prepared and read as much as you can about the effects, because it will apparently not knock you off your feet, but it's overwhelming.
It's taxing. Yeah.
Yeah. Overwhelming, but relaxing at the same time. I think we'll have to try it, and then we can really talk about it.
Yeah, man. I really want to dive more into the MK Ultra side of things in Canada, and because obviously that's happened here, and I think with that we'll find more applications for it, because when you scratch the surface of remote viewing, there's like the wholesome side to it, where it's just this like fun spiritual practice, this fun little, it's like a bar trick, you know?
Yeah.
And then obviously there's various applications that are serious. And I'm curious to learn more about that, and how it's being, because how it's being used, and how it's been used to like kind of prop up our standing in like geopolitics, because
MK Ultra, you're saying, like how
because Canada seems to like skirt past a lot of major like geopolitical turmoil. I know we've been involved in world wars and stuff, but like we seem to like have this like kind of slick path through that world. And yeah, maybe it is because we have people here that know what's coming.
And good propaganda.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Always that.
Is it not hard though? I don't believe remote viewers can see what's coming. That's psychics, right? Yeah. So the psychics would see the future, and remote viewers would be more just, they target a person or a place or something to that. Like they can warg. That was crazy reading about that, how they can see through someone else's eyes. And apparently then something called mirroring begins to happen, where they actually have to get out of it because both people become aware of it.
Huh. This is funny. There's a scene in Stranger Things where she's in the upside down and she's going after Billy, who's like possessed by Vecna at that time, and he notices her, and it freaks her the hell out. Like she's like never been spotted before.
Yeah.
And then
like Bran and
he's able to like disappear himself from that vision, right? So like that would be really, really freaky. And also it makes me wonder, like, how many casualties are there of this? Because this whole time we've talked about, oh well, the good guy, the ones that are good at it progress in it, and they go into these like,
they write books and go on Art Bell, and
and they're like high ranked in the military and whatever. It's like, but how many people are stuck in the upside down? How many people have like gone there and, oh sorry, your training wasn't good enough, and there's casualties of war, right? So
I would think that their best, we wouldn't know who they were. I could be wrong.
No, of course.
Especially then, because if it really was because of the Cold War, there's no way they would want to be public with who their best remote viewers were.
Yeah.
Or you'd think if Russia had good remote viewers, they could remote view each other. Like,
Yeah, but are the test subjects, the casualties of this? Are they the ones that end up stuck there?
Mm-hmm.
You have pull someone from an institution that doesn't have any family and doesn't that there's a reason they use these people in these experiments, and it's easy to make things go away. So it would be really interesting if there was a way to like if there was ever a intel drop of okay, these are the amount of people that were in this program and how many like graduated from this program and where did the other ones end up.
Yeah, where are the others? The ones
Yeah.
that didn't graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freaky. It's
It
freaky
is.
stuff.
It really is.
Yeah. So that's the hour mark. Yeah, I think was there anything else you wanted
To add?
I
think we've covered a lot of it. And I believe at the end we were going to give our opinion about everything, but I think we've done a pretty good job of that for the last little while. I personally believe I believe that remote viewing is 100% real and 100% possible. I believe the stories about we saw the sub there, but I personally don't think that's the reason it was used. I think it was used to explore, partly for that, but I think mostly to explore other entities or try to open portals or to experience different things, to see into the future, possibly.
Yeah.
Whatever came out of it, who knows?
Well, and I view it as sort of it's like a entry level job. You know what I mean? Like if you're into remote viewing, graduate from that, you get into psychic work. You graduate from that, you maybe get into like the fractured spirit altar thing where they apparently that's where the whole assassin program comes from and all that. So it's just, to me, it's like it's yeah, you go through these programs and eventually you graduate with a master's in being
remote viewology.
Yeah,
or
master's in I don't know, super soldier.
just master.
Yeah.
Just a master. Hearing about some of the other stuff they did too was pretty neat. Like Yuri Geller and Ingo Swann. Although if it's true, who knows? Because it's debated. But we're shutting off engines. We're figuring out how to shut off a quantum thing in a locked room, in a Faraday room. Russian remote viewers apparently were blowing up hearts of frogs, like in another room.
Right.
They didn't know the animal, like weird stuff like that. But I also don't know how much of that was true or even pertinent. I still think some of that's a distraction to keep away from the real thing, which is, they're looking into the future and trying to set it up for their benefit.
Yeah, I think there's the espionage angle, and then there's definitely the more nefarious, like beyond that, like
like summoning.
Yeah, probably a bit of that going on. There's like I said, like when you get the military involved, it turns into dark magic, and like who knows what entities they're calling to, because if they are using it to speak to off-world entities, that doesn't mean that they're calling the nice aliens up there being like, hey, what do you guys do what do you guys like to eat?
Yeah, they're not asking them that.
No. Yeah, no.
What do you guys want for dinner?
Yeah, and if they're communing with a species that's more tuned into this and stuff, like what are they learning from that, and where does it all go?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a neat topic. I think we'll obviously spin this into an MK Ultra episode and kind of dive a little deeper into that, because there has been, aside from that Montreal, the guy in Montreal, there's been quite a few other projects throughout the years that kind of dive into that, and we can get into
and it's been admitted through US documents that MK Ultra was in Canada.
Yeah.
Like it's public knowledge. That's not a
no, that's so it was apparently all ended and no longer whatever. There was lawsuits, there was
Mhm.
all that, but we all know what happens to these things. So, yeah,
And we'll talk about it more in the MK Ultra episode. MK Ultra was them trying to find Project Stargate. Still, in my opinion, MK Ultra was them trying to. We'll get into it in that episode.
yeah,
Okay.
all good. Yeah. So, anyways, that's Canada's remote viewers. I know it was a bit of a babbly one. There was so much to cover when
Yeah.
I was doing research on it. I was just like, how do you spin this into a concise, like, point to point to point, like, chat? Like, there's so much and it bounces around, and there's so much is speculative, and really the only thing you have to go off of is the US. The CIA is like they're the poster child for this stuff. And but like you said, the Soviets were using it. I'm sure China's got their remote viewers. I'm sure, you know,
And I'm sure none of what we were told about a whole lot of it, or parts of what we were told about all of it, was the truth, and not all of it. And so who knows anyway.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, it was very hard to find Canada-based stuff on this topic. For me anyway.
It's
the
hard to
Monroe
find.
Institute is the only thing that comes up.
It's hard to find Canada-based stuff on a lot of topics.
Yeah.
Like, that was the one thing when we started kind of building out the idea for the show, and like it scared me at first, because I thought I was going to maybe pigeonhole us a bit, because like we said, the Canadian aspect, the Canadian hook on it all is usually fairly minimal, but it's more about like making people aware that this stuff, if it exists everywhere else, it's got to exist here. We're a First Nation, like we're not a third world country. We're
a colony, been a colony of England forever, and we're right beside the like we're all
our economies are intertwined, our militaries are intertwined, like the Five Eyes intelligence agencies, the NATO pacts, like everything. It's just
and especially during the Cold War, that was because of we're in between the States and Russia. Of course, we're involved in anything they're going to be doing. They're going to be trying here.
And and I think people should kind of open their eyes to this stuff, because we're heading into another Cold War era right now. We're in it. And, I was go online and look at job postings right now and see how many postings there are for the Canadian military. It's absurd.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. Like like 100 posts.
Crazy, eh? Wait until they can't fill them because no one wants to be in it, and they replace them with droids.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Why get a bunch of people that don't? Because people have never wanted to be part of the military more than right now. Like it's not like it's not easy for them to get anyone.
No.
Almost harder than it was. Like it was easier during World War II.
Yeah.
Because World War I, it was conscription. Where it was easier during World War II for them to get people, right?
Yeah, they're trying everything.
It'll be droids.
Yeah.
Drones, droids. That's the way. We can't get people, so we're just going to get all this stuff and defend our country.
Well, the Draco reptilians are on their way, and they're going to be here by Halloween. So,
but it's 3-Eye Atlas.
Yeah.
Do you see they keep pushing it though? Today, that's what I thought, and now it's November 29th. There was a statement issued that we're going to start watching it from November 29th to December 19th.
Oh,
yeah.
Again. Gift.
Again. It was, anyway, 2012 was, but so they pushed it to November 29th, and they're just going to keep pushing it. I guess now it's behind the sun.
It's behind the sun as of today.
And it's adjusting. That's the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting ready for its big reveal.
Pretty much. That's what some people are saying.
Yeah. Hey, man. I don't know. I'm down for the show. I don't believe it, but I'm down for the show because I'm kind of bored. So
there was a point where I was not down for stuff like this, but I am definitely down for it as well. Mostly just, the show and watching the reactions, and you and I having a few laughs about everyone going crazy about it.
Yeah. It's stock up on your weed and popcorn, people. It's gonna be fun.
And coffee.
Yeah. So anyways, we can wrap this one up here. It's fun.
It was.
Yeah, it was a fun chat. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We've been, not gonna lie, we've been a little lacking on the. And we said we'd have a Substack post with each one, but life is busy.
Life is, yeah, and we both got a lot busier with our respective employment over the last little bit, so time is
the old 9 to 5 grind. So, but we're working on it. We're gonna build this out, and it's just gonna keep getting better and better.
100%. This is the most important part, anyway.
Yeah,
Us sitting here talking.
Yeah,
this is what it was all about.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, we got some guests coming up, but we just dropped an episode with our first guest, which was awesome. We got some more guests coming up, and as always, if you want to be on the show, you want to talk about anything, we're pretty open to
literally any topic.
Literally any topic, yeah. As long as you mention Canada like once or twice, and we can just kind of go from there.
Yeah,
yeah. You just gotta, gotta drizzle a little maple syrup on it, and then the rest is all good. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited for the next one.
I am as well. We won't say who.
No.
We'll wait.
You gonna say your tagline?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
All right. From the land of the high seas and the tall trees, I'm Mike.
I'm Andrew.
Have a great night.
Adios.